Okay, well, welcome. We will get started. Today's class starts on page 2. We've decided to sort of keep your handout will keep getting progressively longer because we wanted, since this builds on itself, if somebody is starting like for their first session for the class next week, we wanted them to have at least some of the materials from the first 2 weeks. So that is why, yeah, by the end of this, it'll be like Les Miserables or something.
Or a little less.
Or a little less, but that's why we are we're wanting to include the previous week's information because this really does build on itself, and things will circle around as you hear repeated themes that we'll be having today that echo some of the things that we drew on last week.
Yep.
When we began. So thank you for being back.
Yeah. So we wanted to sort of give opportunity before we get into any new kinds of the creating fertile soil. If anybody wanted to share anything that stirred in you since last week, whether that's some sort of definition of spirituality or images for spirituality that have either come up for you, that maybe resonated more with you. So we just wanted to open that opportunity before we moved into anything more.
A little more prosaic vision of the welcoming our dark guests. I was thinking about how in my jewelry box, anyways, my thin chain necklaces get tangled. And you can't wear your necklace if it's all tangled with something else. You could, I suppose, do some avant-garde thing, but generally you can't get it around your neck because it's too tangled with everything else. And I'll just go, okay, we're gonna pick something else. We're gonna close that jewelry box and we're gonna put it away. So that's my prosaic thought on that.
So you have to, if you don't face that tangle, then it's unusable, right? If you don't embrace, what a great image that is.
You can't enjoy the thing. You can't go, oh, this is broken. Actually broken. I need to get a new piece for the end of this, or whatever. I need a longer chain because this was given to me when I was 6, and my necklace is my neck is a little. Anyway, and you mentioned St. John of the Cross last week, and Kelly was talking about everything being sacred. And there's in one of St. John of the Cross, it's practicing the presence of God, and the image of
Brother Lawrence.
Brother, that's it. It's not John of the Cross.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's another mystic. Go ahead, keep going.
You're just having a dark night of the soul.
Yeah. Healing Carrot. The image from that book that stuck with me was practicing the presence of God while you're peeling carrots in the cloister kitchen.
Yeah, and I think we'll touch on that, those everyday tasks and finding presence and practicing presence. If we don't get to, I think that'll come up today as well as next week for sure. So,
because that whole idea of sometimes we think that a spiritual experience has to be like on a mountaintop or something that could never be part of our day-to-day life, but to sort of say peeling carrots, I can experience God's presence. Is not the most common concept.
Well, thanks for sharing those. I want to piggyback on your the tangling a little bit because I've had tangled jewelry before myself also, and you have to, in order to untangle it, besides just dealing with it, you have to be patient. There's a patience factor and a sort of a slowness or a stepping back a little bit to untangle it. So I don't know. Yeah, that might feed into it too. Yes, Cheryl.
I was thinking about what Cheryl said about the tangled necklace, and in my family, people bring me those because they know I will untangle it. It's for me, it's more of a solving the puzzle. It's a challenge. And I'm gonna fix that challenge, even if I have to get a straight bit out, to pick at it.
Yeah.
But, and then I often wonder, what are they doing in that drawer? Get tangled in the tangling them up, So there's gotta be some spirituality.
Right. Bigger questions there.
Wire hangers get together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like the straight pin came to my mind too with the detangling because I used to work way long time ago when Kohl's had a fine jewelry department.
Mm.
Fine jewelry. I used to work in that department and people would bring me their tangled things and I would have to get out a straight pin and delicately
Pick it apart.
and so like to me that is very much indicative of dealing with your shadows your thing because sometimes it hurt well a lot of the time it hurts it's going to hurt a little bit you're going to have to deal with that because sometimes I would inadvertently then like it hurt my like prick my own self trying to get that but you gotta go through it so
It makes me channel my mother. Because her phrase is, there's no way rushing will help you.
Huh.
For sure. It's worse, actually.
I think rushing is the worst thing.
Right.
yeah if you're just like
It actually gets worse, I think.
There's a sense of satisfaction in solving it too. There's relief.
Mm.
You've got no. It's like a deep tissue massage, I guess. You get all those knots taken out, and then you can sit back and kind of enjoy what you've done. It's like getting nuts out of your yarn.
Yeah.
When you always think about everything, all things being sacred, Wendell has something that I've just always loved that said,
Sure.
there are no unsacred places, there are only sacred places and desecrated.
Nice.
And I thought, oh, yeah,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
sacred places and what was the one? Desecrated. There's no place that is, there's no unsacred, just sacred and desecrated.
And desecrated meaning trying to made unsacred. Yeah, that we tried to do that, but you can't do it. Desacred. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't. Wow. Wendell Berry, are people familiar with him? I mean, talk about a wonderful his writing, his images.
Right.
He's a really modern mystic.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, cool. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Anybody else before we sort of step into other stuff? Okay. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about creating fertile soil for cultivating a living spirituality. So as Dave mentioned, there will be some themes or thoughts that will piggyback or expand or be interwoven with some of the things we talked about last week. And there might be some additional things. But the idea is to try to just continue that conversation a little bit. But again, before we sort of step into our thoughts about that and things that we either have done, learned, continue to grow from, anything that you all want to share, anything maybe that you're already doing to cultivate a living spirituality, anything you feel like that, anything that comes to mind that you want to offer up at this point, and if not, that's cool. We'll move on.
and don't let the term cultivating a living spirituality frighten you.
Right.
Anything you would call a spiritual practice, anything that you think helps you to, when we looked at the definitions, our images for spirituality, waking up, helping you feel a deeper connection with something larger than yourself, however you name that. What helps you do that?
This was very weird for me. I left Jesus behind. Jesus was over here.
Okay.
It was almost like giving Jesus a rest.
So what do you mean? Yeah, so say more about that.
I was not at all thinking about the Bible or biblical Jesus. There, got away from words and stories.
And what is that? What has that? What difference has that made for you,
Very
Nancy?
unlike me.
Has that opened up
Yeah,
Yeah,
has that opened
something
up?
more for you or?
Yeah, I felt how I felt more spiritual rather than being intellectually religious.
Okay. So the just for you was sort of an intellectual concept, is the words, you said getting away from the words.
Yeah,
It was trying to work at trying to understand or
and I know how silly it sounds, but I really felt like I was giving Jesus a rest.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't worry about silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jesus was resting.
And I don't know if we'll talk about it today, but the idea that you have, your thinking, your gut, your heart, it could be that you are setting the thinking stuff aside and maybe living more out of your heart or gut.
Giving Jesus a rest made me laugh. I
Yeah.
have to say,
Yeah.
it was funny.
Something you never got to do in Bible stories.
Yeah,
He tried to.
he tried.
Others of you. Yeah.
I will often take an early walk because I want to see the sun filtering through the clouds in the morning. And this morning was especially beautiful.
It was.
And I remember where I lived, there's a lot of trees, and so the trees are lit up. And I was walking, there's a couple of hills, and I can walk down walking. This morning, I thought, Lord, let this be heaven. It was so beautiful, and I thought, Lord, this is perfect, and it was glorious. And so I had my phone with me. So I played Imagine and listened to that because that just it heaven can be this earth with the beauty and the love and the friendship and just the little moments of interacting with people, whether it's a stranger or a friend or
Wow.
Thank you both for
The,
sharing those additional thoughts.
the
Right.
fertile soil part speaks to me. Two things. A couple weeks ago at the seminary for Trinity Days, the speaker was Layla Ortiz, who is a former bishop of the DC Metro Synod, and she's now finishing her PhD. She gave, I'm not going to do justice to this at all, but she's working in her dissertation on a metaphor from wetlands and the future of the church, and she was really into the science of this, that what causes life in wetland areas is that many of the plants and things die, and the animal life and other plant life that needs to grow can only grow on the dead stuff.
Wow.
That's the
Wow.
fertile thing. So she was working this toward an image of some things in the church need to die because that's the fertile place that new things grow from. And I can't wait to read. I'm sure she'll do a book out of this and it'll be good. But then I was also thinking, I was affirmed. I read it, I think it was in today's paper about, should you let your leaves lay in the yard in the fall? And I was affirmed, yes, I mulch as much as I can, so that's kind of a spiritual practice, but that the dead stuff will become the new stuff. But you do have to kind of pay attention to the dying process. Just let the leaves die there. They don't do it on their own. You got to kind of help things find their place.
There's mold species that want to, rest for the winter on the underside of leaves, that it's not really great if they're piled on top of each other. They just want to be, on the ground under the leaves.
Well, I can't take it, I can't deal with everything, so. The moss may have to find their own place, I don't know, but yeah. Right, well, but if you leave, the leaves in a pile, then they kill the grass, but if you spread them out, it's,
Well, grass is evil.
well. But,
Sure.
I-
Grass is.
Well, I've heard somebody say about Lutherans, Lutherans are kind of like manure. If you pile them all up in one place, they just kill the grass. But if you spread them out a little bit, they actually can just they don't pile them all up in Minnesota or what. It's probably not a preachable image.
On that note, maybe. Sarah. Well, thanks for everybody for sharing your thoughts. That's and Dave said it too. It's not nothing silly. Nothing, if it's something that is being stirred up in you, then there's probably something to it. Even if someone else doesn't understand that, it's speaking to you, and that's part of what we're trying to get to here. Is allowing yourself to listen to those nudges and urges and stirrings.
All right, so moving into what, as Kelly and I talked, what some of the ways that we seek to cultivate fertile soil for that spiritual, living spirituality. Would someone read the first white circle, and then we'll just sort of we'll explore this a bit, see what this brings up for you.
Someone that starts
Acknowledging.
I don't know. Acknowledging how odd, risky, and bold it is to do this work. How it goes against a lot of things our intuitions and our culture rejects. As we go through this list, point out examples of countercultural practices.
So that's the invitation. Just be aware, because a lot of things that, if you remember some of what we talked about last week, the images and phrases, our culture loves tangible things. We love outcomes. We love to see, I do this work and this is the product that turns up. And if I do a lot of work and there's no tangible product, then it feels like I've wasted my time. I have nothing to show for it, right? Living with uncertainty, being able to live with doubt and questions, not having the answers, not having just the facts. Those kinds of things. And so just keep watch as we go through this list about things that seem countercultural, that seem to go against with something that you've been taught you should be or do. So yeah, just pay attention to that.
So just moving into that next one, we already touched on a little bit, opening to mystery, uncertainty, ambiguity, and a love for the questions instead of always needing clear answers. And I love the word mystery. That also showed up a couple times in our service today. I don't know if you caught it also. Yeah, it's interesting how we use the words sometimes, but are we really paying attention to what they're really saying to us, So mystery is, I think, one of those.
How comfortable are you with not knowing, with not having clear answers, with not having a clear path forward?
Depends on what it is.
You said Barry?
Well, of course, I'm always suspicious of the answers that
Okay.
myself or other people come up with, so. Why put that much effort into coming up with an answer that may be wrong or you can't trust them? So. Let things be mysterious.
I'd be curious to hear everyone's reaction, because to me, I was about to say, oh, I feel like that's like kind of who we are in terms of in Sunday school class, people share all their different opinions and everybody just kind of nods and lets it kind of, think about it. I feel like a lot of people don't see a black and white answer to things, but and don't need necessarily an answer. Let me just let that sit there. And that's an interesting way to think about that. Or, oh, I like that. I just feel like, but again, maybe I'm misspeaking for people.
Well, when you think of people how is Is this kind of, I mean, does this sort of say what an odd community we really are in the sense of being comfortable with that? I'm just wondering about.
Well, I'm thinking especially big questions and that, some people really want some, just tell me what I need to do, step by step, or I just have to go to church so many times, I have to make sure I'm there for my forgiveness or whatever. Like, I think some people are very, they just want to know an answer to something, what they should do, and live in a mystery is difficult for some people. But I hope since here.
Okay, you started to say
So
something.
I agree with Michelle in the whole, I don't have to have the right answer. I like having different opinions to think about. And I also think that the right answer, there's not just one right answer. It depends on the situation. It depends on what's going on around it. For it to be how I'm gonna interpret something or how I'm gonna react to something. It depends on what's going on. I can still, it's still a spiritual response, but it could be different according to what's going on. So I'm like, I don't have just one answer. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with embracing the gray. I like that we
I
can
like that you say
discuss
that,
it.
yeah, embracing the gray.
Yeah, and I like that we
Good
can
way.
talk about it here, and people will go, oh, I'm kind of here, and somebody else will go, well, I'm kind of here, and I'm like, good, it needs to be, at least for me. So I'm with Michelle, there's no one right answer. Yeah.
I'm not. Faith, that's fine, but when I go to a doctor, and this is my problem, I want an answer. I want to know what I should do,
Okay.
and how I can manage to get through another problem. So.
So depend that it depends idea.
Cheryl, I think
Yeah.
I agree with them. Depending on the situation. And I have to say, gray is the color that I hate the most. I don't want to be in a room with gray. No place in the pig, the walls gray, no. But gray is, I can't stand the color. But I have to acknowledge that life is full of gray area. So I wind up in them anyway, whether I want to be there or not. So it's how you deal with it when you get there. I don't necessarily always need a definitive answer. Let's just see where this goes. I was having a conversation with my son yesterday, and he is the kind that I need to know. I need definition. I want to know exactly what the steps are. And I'm saying, I don't know, I kind of have faith that there's steps. Something will show up and I'll figure it out. So I understand both of you, and Kathy, I understand what you're saying, depending on the situation. When you go to the doctor, you don't want him scratching his head saying, I don't know.
What do you think?
So it's an ambiguity with ambiguous definitions, I think.
I think there are sometimes though, let's go back to the doctor a bit, where you might want an answer, but maybe it's not coming in the time frame that you want it to happen. So maybe there's an answer, but maybe it's here and not here. So then then you are living with that ambiguity or that mystery for some period of time then. So I don't know, but yes, still wanting an answer. Maybe. So that's such a wish again. Ruth and then Brad, I think had.
This portion is perfect for Donna and myself. Yeah, I'm the first part of it, open to mystery, uncertainty, ambiguity, especially in the love for questions. Because that's what I did for a living. And Donna always needs clear answers. And so that's a big friction between the two of us. I don't feel it'll pass, whatever. What's the beginning? So that's a kind of a mixed thing, but I don't think she understands my willingness to let things be. And if they will eventually work out one way or the other. I don't need to pound nails into it and get all excited about it. I leave that to her.
This is Maureen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Maureen.
Hey, I didn't know there's no way to raise your hand. I don't know if anybody's monitoring online.
We're watching. All we see is your name, but we don't see
The
hand.
text.
So you just shout out, okay?
Okay. I didn't know if anybody's monitoring the chat. So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no, there's nobody at the computer. So feel free. I should have mentioned that earlier. Yeah, feel free just to call out whenever you have something to share.
No, yep, just wondering. No, it's good conversation.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask. But yeah, I like all the conversation. My work life is different. Definitely has to be more black and white, right? Because if you're a supervisor or whatever, but for spirituality, I think that I hope for myself, I express as just in who I am with my team and just how I treat them, and even in training or the journey together is about how you treat them, so I express my spirituality and honoring them and teaching them and lifting them up and helping them find their path in work or through work, right? Because some of them, especially new people and young people, I have a lot of young people now, and it's hard for me as an older person. I have a way different work ethic or work style, and for me to be open to their mystery of how they work, just got to say it's way different, but it's taught me how to grow too and communicate differently, which is kind of interesting. So I've been learning how to restate things to teach them how to keep asking me why, especially my 20s, my 20 somethings. I need them to ask me. I just figured out literally this week for one of my young people, I need you to keep asking me the whys because I have 25 years experience and they don't ever ask why. Like, why am I teaching them? They just kind of get like, well, I know what I'm doing, blah, blah. Well, no, you don't. You don't ask me the whys on the process and why I'm telling you to do it this way. They just want to do it their own way and not understanding that there's a reason why our systems are in place. So you don't get like, I do housing. So you don't get sued for discrimination or fair housing. I know you think but the reason why we are repetitive is the bigger picture, and it's for your safety and for the safety of the people we serve. And like, it's not just routine for no reason. But just learning how to communicate with them and then they all like their head starts nodding. Oh, okay. But again, it's black and white, but I learned through their mystery and my spirituality is how to like connect, and then I grow and then they grow. So it's just really cool. Just reading this because I wasn't in last week. And
that's
a
really helpful practical example again about just how real and day-to-day this stuff is. How we interact with people says a lot about our spirituality.
Yeah, and
I might not connect those.
Yeah, and I copied this quote you had last week, and I'm gonna put it in my office. Where was it? About the spirituality. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. I'm going to put that in a frame and put it in my office. That's fantastic. So, but thank you. I just wanted to share that. Just that connected with me today.
Great example, Maureen.
And that idea of journeying together, I think just, again, reiterate some of the things that we already talked about and will continue here.
Yeah, just to me, that's spirituality is that is spirituality every day, whether it's at work. I mean, even though we're black and white in some situations or doctors, but just that connection and just being able to be that together.
Brad, did you still have something you wanted to?
Well, yeah. I love this quote from Zora Neale Hurston, who's an African-American woman scholar, who said that research It is, I'm not comfortable with not knowing. I want to know things and then whatever. Research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. I used to have that hanging over my desk, actually. Um, I think not,
Good one too.
not knowing has sort of made me who I am. I think. I mean, there's, um, a couple of years ago, I taught a thing here on the cosmos and evolution and whatnot, and it was because I had questions. I wanted not necessarily the right answer, but a satisfying answer.
Mm.
I mean, there are some answers that are just frankly can be just wrong, but I mean, things that aren't satisfying. And what's satisfying to somebody else isn't satisfying to me, but I'm looking for that. That keeps me creative and but to poke and prod with a purpose, not just sort of randomly, but with some bit of focus help. That's me.
Yeah.
Emily? I think it's good to be comfortable with some kind of ambiguity. You have to be, otherwise you have an anxiety disorder. Like, that's what I have found. Like, because to you're never going to know all the answers ever. There comes a time where you just have to be confident in yourself to say, whatever happens, I have a skill set that I will deal with it. And I have a spiritual team to back me up. So I have guidance that I can tap into. It will happen. It will be okay. You can't. So some people are more susceptible to, like, personality wise or whatever, needing to plan for everything. And that can be a dangerous trap to fall into. I'm one of those people. So the stronger I have become in my spirituality, the less anxiety I have. Because the more confident I am in myself, the more it's like, sweet, let's play improv, because let's go. And it's okay, because now I have this team that you can't see behind me, but I know they're there. And bring it. Whatever it is, I can handle it. Because it's that analogy with the bird on the branch. The bird doesn't matter if the branch is strong enough to hold the bird, because the bird has wings. Right? If the branch breaks, the bird can take care of itself. So I think, and especially and it takes practice. It's not an easy thing, but especially with my work with going on hospice volunteering. The latest gentleman that I had worked with for over a year had dementia. I never knew what time I never knew what decade he was in when I walked in the door. So it was a big lesson in improvisation. At first it was really daunting, and then it was a lot of fun. Because I knew I could handle it. I knew that it was going to be okay. And now a VeggieTales song just pops into my head.
Awesome.
That God is bigger than the Boogeyman song.
Yeah.
But that is the same lesson. It's just for grown people. So anyway, I think it's healthy to be okay with the unknown.
I would argue that VeggieTales is probably mostly good for older people than kids.
The next
Thank
couple
you.
are fairly repetitive, valuing and trusting what can't be proven instead of needing to be able to figure everything out or make sense of everything, letting go of the need for a concrete outcome or progress to our spirituality and spiritual practices. It ebbs and flows. Maybe we're partially saying the same thing in some different ways because different words mean different things to different people. So if you say the same thing maybe in 3 different ways, it might connect with, each person can at least kind of grasp what's being said. The next one, giving plenty of time and room in our lives to cultivate a living spirituality. That may mean more or less time and room at different times of our lives and changing practices as needed. How does that resonate with folks? Or
does it?
Does it? Yeah.
I think in part, the idea here is, first of all, nothing looks the same for every person. You know, everybody sort of has their own go-tos, and that's cool. I think there's also times in your lives when you can make more time or less time, or have to take less time, but it can still be present, paying attention, awareness. So whether that's, you know, walking home back and forth from work and you're present to the moment, but maybe you don't have hours at home to do that, or whether that's how you start every day with an hour of, you know, walk, or an hour time of stillness, or you know, puzzling, or whatever the practice happens to be. And that practices change too. So maybe what worked for you when you were 20, maybe doesn't work anymore for you at 40 or 60, or, you know, vice versa, whatever. So, so that's some of the thought there, I think.
I suffered from insomnia, which I've hated and fought and hated and fought. And now it's a blessing. Because if I pop awake at 3 a.m., I have something to do. And it's just, and it's so mild, and it's self-loving. And I, you know, 10 minutes, I fall back to sleep.
Yeah, for
And-
example.
Why didn't I know that not fighting would be the way to cure or to deal with insomnia?
Wow.
Don't fight. Just contact, get in touch with your spirituality and breathe. What a deal.
Thank you for sharing. Al?
This is interesting. I want to build on that, but I had something completely different to say, but it's the same thing. What I was going to say is that this bullet point probably speaks to different people in different ways.
Sure.
For example, I have tended all through my work life and in school before that to be a type A personality. I've got an agenda. I've got a time schedule. I can squash everything into my day. I will get it all done. I am confident. Right? Well, now I'm retired. And I'm looking at things a little differently, being 77 years old now. And if I were to have heard this back then, I would have said, oh, I have to squeeze another thing. I'll put 25 minutes into my schedule.
Right.
Wow.
And make some time. That's what I would have heard.
Interesting.
Now I'm at the point where I'm ready to say, you know, that crazy interruption that I just got in my schedule. Maybe that's the blessing.
Yeah.
I can use that. Yeah.
And that's kind of what you just said, isn't it? The blessing is the interruption where I'm out of control. And the spirit can speak into my schedule. Maybe. If I let it.
If you're paying attention.
If I'm paying attention.
Yeah. Okay, I just have to jump in. I'm so with you, Al. That is me to a T, and I keep waiting to speak out on the next point. Freeing ourselves to be without a need to do. Oh, good Lord. Always T's just like me. We always have a list. I need to account for my day.
Yes.
It wasn't a waste of time today because I got this, and this checked off my list, and I'm always reminding
All
Elaine,
boxes are checked.
we are human beings, not human doings. Keep reminding me that because I'm not good at it at all. And I'll be the first to.
Are there moments when you're able to live into that?
This is Josh. Not said well, but I do have moments now that I'm retired that I accept it a little bit better. But we used to tease even when we were first had kids and I was working mom, and I hated Saturdays because I had such a big list of things to do. That I need to schedule a time to be spontaneous. I totally get what you're saying. And I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. Be here.
I'm not even. And Michelle,
Trying to be open to it.
and Al, both of you, maybe, I was sitting over here laughing at myself because I used to go to work. And I had a list. First off, I would walk into I was a branch manager, I would walk into my library. I'd get right to work. Okay, and finally, my desk clerk said to me one day, she said, do you know how to say good morning?
Wow.
Point number one. Point number two, I would have a list. I always had a list of things that had to be done that day.
Yes.
Most often by the end of the day, none of those things were done. And I remember one day sitting down at my desk saying, what the heck did I do? I still have this stuff to get done. But then I made a list of all the things that I did.
Yeah, that's the way to accommodate
Right,
that.
and so-
Yes.
Okay, so after a while, I threw away the list because I knew things were going to get done. I the workshop one time where they said, you should have 3 files on your desk. This came in today. Here, and this goes in the trash. It's been here for so long, you haven't dealt with it, and don't need to deal with it. I found that kind of mindset, of course, I looked that out before I went to trash. Made life a lot easier to deal with. And I could actually see what was really important and what's not important. And I finally felt like I was not just ADD, HH, but I was actually completing things and getting things done. With or without the list. So yeah, I just settled back into that. It's okay, I don't need this. We're gonna get stuff done today. Yeah, we don't know what that stuff is, but it's as it comes in, we'll get it done. Made life easier.
And sometimes the interruptions are the blessing, are the wake up call, are the aha moment, are the, yeah, you just never know. I think that's where to me, the paying attention is a real key. You know, how many of us go along our days, whether we have the list or we don't have the list. And, you know, you're sort of on this autopilot. We'll get to that too. And, you know, paying attention sort of puts you in a different place with that. I think. Thank you, everybody.
You remind me of my mother, because when pre-Christmas, like my mother started Christmas and Halloween. And my sister and I thought it would be funny if we hid the list, and we hid the list. And I had never seen my mother furious, never. And that was it. I saw my mother furious, and I turned to my sister and I said, "We're dead." And that's how attached she was to organization. And that taught her. Then she said, "I can't be this way." But yeah. And you learn what you're totally attached to and whether or not it matters. So there you go.
That whole idea of how we measure is part of this, how we measure our worth.
Oh my goodness.
You know, have I earned the right to have been alive today? You know, or I'm good, I'm successful, I'm competent if I make it through this list, which also I think has something to do with what is our relationship with time. You know, and time often as this force that is sort of saying, are you using me? Are you spending me? I mean, the verbs we use for time, we kill time, we spend time, we waste time, you know, but I think the idea of spirituality is inviting us perhaps to a very different kind of a relationship with time, where there is an abundance, where there is enough time, even if we don't feel like there is, because we still have 20 things on our list and it's 10 at night, you know. But I think that idea of there being enough time for what the day offers.
I think this is another countercultural kind of thing too. You know, we're very conditioned otherwise, I think. Michelle.
So it's making me think of what I've seen is attributed to Luther, which is if I have an especially busy day, I get up an hour earlier to pray an extra hour.
Mm.
And I'm not sure that works with the way we're talking about it.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure that I agree with that, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Well, it's what's the difference between discipline and rigid scheduling?
Hmm.
And you know, discipline, pray it an hour a day is a discipline. It's a way of faith.
Well, this is an extra hour. This is beyond his normal amount of praying. He'd get up an extra hour early if he had an extra busy day planned.
That's a challenge if you actually play constantly.
Well, yeah, I think some of the other things we've talked about, finding God in the routine or in the you know,
Praying differently maybe than,
yeah,
maybe
but-
prayer takes on a different mode, you know, it's not the be quiet, fold hands, pray, you know, maybe it's while you're washing dishes, maybe it's while you are driving and you're sitting at a stoplight, maybe it's in how you are interacting with another person or a neighbor or someone in need. So maybe it's a shift to a different way of looking at prayer, possibly.
I want to go back to comment on time. Because time's relative. And as you get older, each day is a much shorter portion of your life. So it is shorter.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it is.
And so then what?
Yeah, so what is that? Yeah,
Yeah. It it's disconcerting to think about. But I can understand. So when you say, you know, time flies,
Mhm.
it flies.
Yeah.
It flies faster than when you were 20 or when you were 10.
Mhm.
And so there's a real reality to that.
That's what my grandparents always used to say, and I went, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But now I'm there. They were right. It's true.
And Judy, is that still so you wake up in the morning and you realize that life is fleeing, that time is flying. I think still the fact that that day still has 24 hours and that moment is inviting you to say, how do I live into this day and not get so caught up in some of that reality. I think the invitation is to be present, is to say, yeah, so today, I have this day ahead of me, this 24-hour period ahead of me. How am I going to live into this gift? Or live into this loneliness, or live into, because the day brings different things for different people as well. So the reality is, I have this day, and is that daunting? Is that exciting? Is that boring? Is that painful? Is that a wonder?
Any of those on any given day?
On any given day. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be different. But I think the idea is that not to, to realize that reality of time, and also to sort of say, and I have this time right here. So how will I live into this?
So isn't the trick to find the way to free ourselves to be all the time? Like, this makes it sound like it's an either or. Like, if we're caught up in doing, we can't be free to be. Why can't we be while we're doing?
I think the important word there is without a need to do.
Well, but the reality is we all have needs to do. We have to do work. We have to do care for others. We have to do care for ourselves. We have to mow the grass. But I mean, I think the ultimate would be not to carve out these things, these periods of time, or these ways of going about your day that allow you to be spiritual as sort of a separate thing, and somehow cultivate the idea of being spiritual all the time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
That's a good answer I can find for now. Tomorrow I'll come up with something different.
Maybe the question, so if it's both and, how often do we do that? Like when you're doing, are you also being? Maybe that's the
Well,
question to sit with and
I
have
thought you were on
curiosity
the
around.
tail end of Carol's story, but you were talking about doing a walk this morning and you were confronted with something that was spectacular and you paused. I mean, isn't that doing while being spiritual? I mean, she was getting her morning exercise in. I mean, sometimes when I'm out in the yard working and I come across something, I'm like, wow, look at this tomato hornworm with all these parasitic wasps. I love that. I always stop for that. And I usually tell people, oh,
Being and doing.
nice, come here, look at this.
You're right. I think that's great. But again, I think there are a lot of people go through life doing without being.
Yeah,
and not finding
I
that
agree.
finding that way. So that both and I think
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's well put. Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes we get caught up in that even in our church setting, right? On committees, running
Yeah,
for
for
this,
sure, for
doing this, whatever. Then are you really being, but is it a both and?
Yeah.
So I know I struggle with that. It's hard to, am I being while I'm doing, or is it just about the doing?
Well, sometimes one thing that helps me is a change of perspective. Usually it's a visual thing for me. So for instance, I was ushering this morning. So I'm usually way up front. And when I'm ushering, I'm in the back. And sometimes I'm popping in and out during the service because I hear employees or whatever. But or like today I was counting, because ushers have to count, put the total down. And it's just so cool to like look at everybody as you're counting and see all the different people, see the variety and stuff. That was a sort of a one thing.
And to me, that's being while you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what you're.
And then yesterday I was blowing off my roof. And I love getting up on the roof because,
You're still here.
and then I didn't do it when she was around. She's always nervous when I get up on the roof and nobody's around. But it is a ranch, so it's semi-safe. But anyway, so I get up there and I'm blowing the roof off, and it's the weather yesterday was spectacular. It was mild, it was sunny, and usually, have you ever noticed when you're pulling into your driveway, you just don't see things. Right. It's just the path that you go on. But when I get up on the roof, it's like, wow, this is what my neighborhood looks like. It's so super cool. I look that way, I look that way, I look up into the trees and stuff.
You're paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could put a chair up there, I'd sit up there.
I love it.
Treehouse, maybe is it a
Tree.
But yeah, it's like if I can get myself into a space that has a slightly different perspective, then it opens me up to all kinds of crazy things.
Wow. Beautiful.
Speaking of time.
So
Great conversation.
letting go of previous quote unquote truths we've lived by, even when that means entering the dark nights of the soul or the senses. And that is a phrase that the 16th century mystic John of the Cross sort of writes about. And he has a poem that he writes when he sort of has this experience of being in the darkness. We often can think of being in the dark and like the welcoming the dark guest as sort of as a challenge, as a hard thing, as something to get out of. We get through the night to get to the light and stuff. But John is really saying the dark night is a time of incredible possibility, an incredible birthing, an incredible newness, if we're willing to stay there. And what he really is talking about is we might have had images for God, words for God, experiences of God that help God feel tangible, feel real, feel present and loving. And then we find ourselves entering a time where none of that works anymore. Where who God has been for us, images, songs, prayers, places, no longer communicate God's presence or reality to us. And he talks about that as a dark night of the soul, where we simply, and we're simply invited to be in that. If we try to make a quick fix, or we say, what's wrong with me? And we try to force ourselves back into older, previous ways of being, or dive into a brand new one and say, okay, I need this, I need this, I need to try this, I need to try this, find this spiritual guru, or go to this new worship style, or whatever, as opposed to just sort of saying, this is a time of dying and birthing. And there is a gestation period. There is a period where allowing the newness to emerge is necessary if we have a hope to find something new, to be discovered by something new. So anything like that is not, even though it might be tremendously upsetting, because it's like, wait a minute, God has felt so real to me in this way. I talked about this early on coming back from sabbatical, where I preached and said, for 20 years, the image of the risen Jesus walking by my side made God absolutely feel so real and so close to me. And then over a period of a couple of years, that completely disappeared. I have no idea why. It doesn't matter why, but it ceased to have that image did not feel real, and it ceased to have any power to make God present or real for me. And so that's some of that I was realizing as we were reading this book for this spiritual direction training class that Kelly and I are in now. So that is a piece, I think, of this cultivation, is to realize when something has died and to let it go, and then wait and see what might emerge, what might come. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, where something that has been important for your faith life or something has then no longer been real, or present, or God, that doesn't, it's not an instrument, it's not a way to get them to make it real anymore. But that's what it means by that. We can hear a term dark night and think, oh, this is bad. No, not at all. It's the darkness that, like the seed in the soil, that you need the darkness and you can't just jump to the light.
We talked some last time about welcoming the dark guests, so this is just sort of reiterating, but the idea here is that things that we typically, and I think this is also very countercultural, things that typically are seen as maybe not as good or not as positive, that we can welcome those, honor, learn from, and hold those things in curiosity. So, envy, grief, anger, disappointment, resentment, fear, sort of recognize, again, to me, it's a paying attention and being curious. Oh, okay, I'm feeling such and such. Why is that? Or I'm just sitting with that, or letting that unfold, or instead of maybe judging yourself like, oh, I shouldn't feel like this. So the idea is sort of welcoming and learning from, holding that in curiosity a little bit more. So I don't know if anybody wants to, we talked about that quite a bit last week. Anybody has any additional thoughts on that?
I think what we invite you to do with to take the sheet home between exits, it's time to close up, but take the sheet home. If there are bullet points that you want to bring up, that you have questions about, or comments to share about next time, before we will dive into looking at sort of meaningful spiritual practices that we have. And for you to share more about, I mean, we started doing that with the walking, the stories of some of the things that you all do. But we'll be going into more detail with that. And just to note that next week is the congregational meeting. And like Brad said, it's going to be short, but we'll be starting a little bit late next week.
And then having pie afterward.
And having pie, I know. Yes,
The meeting will be short. but
the meeting
pie
is
might be
short, but
long.
bring your pie,
Bring
yeah.
your pie.
You can totally, that is a spiritual experience for many of us. Desserts make God real. So,
I would just add to this list a little bit, that one thing that didn't quite make it on as a word, it's in other places, is gratitude. So I will just sort of add that to this list. We'll add that because that needed to be on here. So. And we'll talk about that more also next week with spiritual practices as well.
thank you all
Yeah,
very
thanks so much.
much.